Hello and Welcome to Derry. I'm Lindsay Dunn, your host of the One of My Stories podcast, and with me today is your other host from the Sweet Child of Time podcast. I'm hoping it's the real one and not a manifestation trying to kill me by preying on my greatest fears. It's Steve Barnes. Ahoy, Steve.
Ahoy, Lindsay. It's really me. I swear to God, it's really me. You know it's me because I just took 3 of my mommy's Valiums and I'm ready to hold hands.
I know. That was actually almost my intro, was something about us holding hands. We're not holding hands.
Why not? They're so soft and subtle, like Noxzema.
It feels just like Noxzema and a baby. What did he say? A kitten's belly? I can't remember what she said.
That's exactly what she said. Yes. There was an adorable little couple there. What a great way to start our show. Not even a minute in, and we're reminiscing about those cute kids.
So, yes, we're here to recap a TV show. So here we are at episode 5, which is called, I thought it was just called Neibolt Street, but nay, it's 29 Neibolt Street. It's very specific.
Yes, it is.
So what are your overall reactions to this episode?
Yeah, I think this episode could have been called like Redemptions and Reunions. It would have been a nice alliteration thing, because that's what I got out of this. I got a great redemption story with Marge, and I got some reunions with a couple of fellows, somebody that's been long awaited. So that's a lot of fun. I mean, yeah, this was a little bit of a far-fetched plot, this whole military thing. A little bit silly with some logistical problems, but I mean, the plots are all like kind of coming together, and this whole like arc with Mrs. Kirsch and Hank Grogan like fitting into the main story really nicely. Like, I'm kind of just having a lot of fun and loving it, even though there was a couple like WTF moments where I kind of like was like, what? But other than those moments, like I was having a lot, even in those moments where I was questioning what was happening, I was still having fun. Mm-hmm. This was just a fun all around episode. Do you agree? What are you thinking about this one?
Yeah, I thought this was another wonderful episode. I was very swept up into the momentum of it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the, and it was like a roller coaster ride. There was a lot of misdirection.
Right.
There were some detours. I kind of thought we were going to go into it just didn't play out the way I thought. You know, I knew we were going to go into the sewers and that the military were going to go looking for these pillars. And I knew Pennywise was supposed to show up.
Right.
But I didn't really expect for there to be this detour for Dick Hallorann where he kind of left the main plot for a bit. We had a lot of stuff going on. There were a lot of arms and legs going on, as one of my old bosses used to say. Got a lot of arms and legs going on. But it came together very nicely, and there were some sad moments. There were some funny moments. I thought it was great. I didn't see all of these. There, you know, it's like if you look really closely, yes, you can find flaws with anything. But I wasn't. I was just wrapped up in the experience of watching the show and wondering what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I can second almost all of that. I think Reed, maybe we talked to Reed. I wonder if he liked the pacing better of this episode. Because like you said, this one really from scene to scene, I didn't think there was any drag at all. It, just kept moving forward. And what a fun misdirection at the beginning here when we see that young Maddie come out of that tent. That was just like a really exciting moment. And even though he looked so ghostly and pale, like I think he fooled most of the audience with that. He fooled me for sure, even though I noted how pale he was. I mean, that was a fun misdirect for the whole audience, especially with him saying that Phil's alive. And I could just see all those Reddit nerds like, I knew it. And
well, you know what, Steve? It's funny that you mentioned the Reddit nerds, because when I was picturing you saying, because you mentioned, you thought we had a discussion about if Maddie was alive.
Yes.
And I was like thinking, oh man, Steve's going to have a field day with this when he tells me how right he was and how wrong I was. But
right. I was having fun with that, especially with the whole Phil thing. And I don't know if you remember back in, I think it was episode 3, I was talking about me and my daughter, Charlotte, watching the first 2 episodes together.
Mm-hmm.
And she like made this bold prediction, like from the get-go. She's like, oh, Maddie is Pennywise. I know right now Maddie is Pennywise. He's really Pennywise. How right she was, just with the offhand, like just grab at the air guess like that. She was right.
Well, she was right and she was wrong.
She was right. If she saw that scene with doing the pole dance and Maddie turning into Pennywise, you know that she would like slap me in the face and be like, I told you, Dad. Yeah.
Right. But in episode 1, that wasn't Pennywise.
It was not. But,
right.
She got her comeuppance, though. I got to hand it to her.
But I will say it set up this nice idea now that Pennywise can take over anybody.
Sure.
And we've talked about a particular character, that being Ingrid, and, the fact that she's nice now. And then if she's indeed the Mrs. Kirsch we see later at Beverly's house, it's set up this continuity now that somebody that is a nice person could become a villain by the end, because Pennywise can take on the form of anybody who's dead, apparently.
Right. Yeah. Maybe anybody he can't take over. I don't know if he can take over the form of anybody who's alive. He took over Marge's in their minds. He can, because he took over Marge last episode. Like, she thought that it was inside of her body and she was turning into a snail or something. Mm-hmm. So like, it's almost like his powers are endless in a way.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the people we've seen, though, if they've had a vision of something, has that person always been dead? That would be a good thing to study closely and kind of.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, I'm curious with the Maddie appearance.
Yeah.
Take me through your journey with that. At what point in the plot did you track that there was something off with Maddie?
It was when they were all getting loopy on the Valium.
Right.
And everybody had their moment. And then Maddie turns around and says, we're almost there. And he seems completely normal. And I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
That was my first inkling.
Yeah. Me too. That was the moment that, now that I go back and I look, there's some other signs that show up.
There are.
But that was like the way that I was excusing it in my mind is, this guy is so terrified that it doesn't matter. He's so hopped up on fear. But out of all the kids, he was the only one that wasn't acting like he had just gotten Novocaine at the dentist. So.
Yeah, that's right. And like how pale he was in the beginning, like watching it the second time, it looks very obvious. But then, watching it the first time, you're like, oh, this kid is like near death and he's been in the sewers for like 3 months or something. So you're kind of excusing the fact that he's so pale and gross looking. It kind of makes sense with the plot.
Yeah. The other thing that might have been a visible tell, maybe not, is his hair. And I'm thinking about how, he wasn't exactly the most fashionable kid, but again, it's something you could excuse. Oh, he's been away and in the sewers, so he hasn't had a haircut. But it did seem like his hair all of a sudden became quite long.
Okay, yeah, that actually made sense to me, because he disappeared on New Year's Eve or like wintertime. And now they're like, it seems like it's summertime. They're riding bikes with short sleeve shirts on, and they're in Maine. So, that didn't really throw me through a loop, the hair thing. What I thought is he looked like a young Jack White to me, because Jack White's very pale, has that same haircut, kind of has a very similar face. That's where I was going with this kid. Some rock star cred.
Yeah. It would have been funny if his hair was long and red. Then he's like, then that'd be sort of a little more obvious, I guess. Okay, so sounds like we had some feedback.
Yeah, we got a little bit of feedback on my end here. A fella named Brian K hit me up on the Discord just with some kind words, and he was listening to us when we were doing 100 Years of Solitude. You and I were doing that on these very podcasts, Lindsay, a couple of years ago. He's looking forward to season 2 when we do that. And he just says that I'm blessed with great co-hosts. That means you, Lindsay. So, hey, I'm blessed with some Lindsay. That was Brian K. And then we had an individual on Reddit. I'm guessing she's a female. You can't harm a good woman. That's what their title is. And they hit us up with a lot of words here. And I'm just going to kind of condense it down to, they predicted that the great swirling apparatus, because they answered some of our questions that we asked last episode. Mm-hmm. According to them, that's the deadlights. They consider the deadlights to be the great swirling apparatus. Don't know if they're right or they're wrong, but I mean, it's something to think about. I love this speculation that she gave us. She talks about the iron fence around the well house at 29 Neibolt Street. And they have like those iron, like, I don't know, they look like the shards. They're like these spikes on the top of fences to stop kids from jumping over your fence. And she said the shards are part of the meteorite that has been entrapping it before it fell to Earth. And the idea is only those shards can defeat it. And part 2, Beverly gives Eddie one of those tines from the iron fence and tells Eddie that this kills monsters. So they were speculating that could have been potentially one of the shards entrapping Galoo, or maybe symbolizing one of those shards. In my opinion, maybe that's where Andy Muschietti started getting this crazy idea about the shards, because it's a Muschietti thing. Is that is correct, right? I'm asking you because I've read the books and these shards were not part of the books. It all is part of the movie, correct, Lindsay?
Well, yes, that's the first time I saw them, but I've only read the book once. Okay. So if we're wrong about that, then let us know.
I just read the book, so the shards are definitely not in there. But yeah, they were speculating that shard from the movie could be carried over here. And then their last point was they disagreed with some of what we said about Ronnie. We said that she didn't have much to do. And they basically wrapped it up and they said that there's a dynamic that plays out in reality, believing Black girls and Black women. So, they wanted to make that point, that that's something that they saw, that they resonated with last episode, that they saw Ronnie as not being believed or listened to. And that's representative of culture, perhaps. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's a lot that they threw on us there. We had a third Discord user that I'm sorry, I did not write down their name. And I only bring them up because they said that we're doing a great job, but they also gave some props to Reed from last week. And they said they really enjoyed Reed and his fear of God and his appearance on our show. So that's also worth mentioning. Thank you again, Reed.
Everybody loves Reed.
My wife did too. I told you.
Yep. He's a great guest and a great host for his own show. So
maybe he'll invite us back on his show sometime to watch It Part 3.
We're not begging. We're just asking. Well, thank you for everybody who wrote in comments. We're glad to hear people are listening. I also heard from Deb, who, she just was telling me that she appreciated the shout out we gave her and that she thought it was nice that we had included her in our discussion. So I was like, yes, of course. Send us more thoughts and we'll include them as well.
Yeah, we just did it again and you didn't even say anything. So there you go, Deb.
Okay. I guess I want to speak back about the Ronnie thing. I feel like our comments about Ronnie really didn't have anything to do with against her. It's more what the show gave her to do. And
yes,
that race is definitely an issue that comes up in this show. And I feel, what you want to avoid for sure is you don't want their whole storyline to be about their race. But that definitely is an aspect that we have to consider. Mm-hmm. That I did see, for instance, some discussion on different posts about people being kind of annoyed that Ronnie feels like her problems are worse than Lily's problems. For instance, when she's telling her, you got to tell them about my dad. And Liz like, but they'll send me back. And it kind of looked to people like, oh, Ronnie just cares about her situation. She doesn't care about Lily's. But because she's the marginalized person in this situation. And if Lily goes to the hospital, she might not be treated very nicely, but she's not going to be killed the same as Hank Grogan is for going to an electric chair, by death by an electric chair. So
right. And plus, to your point, if Lily ends up going to Juniper Hill for an extended stay, then she's no help to Ronnie whatsoever. So takes her off the playing field.
Yeah. Okay. With that, let's move into our Easter egg hunt.
All right. Yeah, they didn't really give us a ton. I think a lot of things that people might think were Easter eggs were like big plot points this week. So they don't really count. So I think we shook hands and we agreed, Lindsay, that our Easter eggs are just going to be like strictly Easter eggs, meaning that they're going to be background items that people might have missed, like in the true sense of the word, right?
Or I would say it doesn't have to be a background item, but it's something that connects to another book or a series that, and also I would say we don't want to keep repeating the same Easter eggs over and over again.
Exactly.
Like we've already mentioned that there's red balloons or there's turtles.
Right.
So there's no need to do it again unless we learn something new about the turtle or a new aspect of the book that wasn't brought into it before. But I also want to say that I think it's a good sign maybe that they're not spending as much time on Easter eggs, because that means we're getting into the meat. You know, we're in these meaty episodes.
Okay.
So they know that they want people to be invested in the story. So they know they're not going to be sitting there going, oh, look at this or over here. Yeah.
They're still doing it a little bit though. A little bit.
Yes. All right. So what's your first one?
Mrs. Kirsch's kitchen. We get another glimpse of that fabled picture of Bob Gray and his daughter sitting by the, what do you call it? The clown car thingy. So that same picture that we saw in It Part 2, we see it once again in her kitchen.
Mm-hmm. They might as well just start selling copies of it.
Yeah, why not? I'd buy one.
So I put my first one as Maddie's yellow tent.
Okay.
As an
How's
Easter
that an
egg.
Easter egg?
Well, because yes, some people sleep in tents, but where else do you see tents?
Circus?
At the circus.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
I thought it was sort of a clever tell right at the very beginning that this was not a normal Maddie sighting, but it was something really obvious. So I thought it was nice, and in the background, they also gave it a nice Dutch angle. It was at the creepy angle that it's
That's
not
true. That's true.
But yeah, I think that during the Francis flashback in 1908, when the man leads him into the tent, it's a yellow tent. So it was kind of a way to reference that this is a clown without saying that or being real obvious about it.
I will counter that and just let you know that we have seen that tent in every episode so far, because we've been in the standpipe every episode and that tent's been there the whole time.
Right, but you haven't paid attention to it really up until now.
Okay, all right. I have, but it's definitely something that needs to be mentioned because it hasn't been mentioned yet. And it's really like, this is the first time it's come into play. So it's come to life this episode. So I'll give it to you, yo. Yeah, I've only got really one more besides like all the major stuff that happened in the story. That is, they discussed the Paul Bunyan statue in this episode, and the protesting crowd is really getting riled up. They talked about an individual that tried to chop off one of his legs with a chainsaw. So
an axe.
An axe. Okay, there you go. It was in the background, so you really could have missed that story, but it was there in the background. And that's the last one that I have.
Mm-hmm. I had the well that they went down. That's the same, well from the Losers Club. That's that place where Henry attacks Mike Hanlon with the sheep gun.
Yep.
The only other one I had was Dick and the bathtub. I just thought it was kind of a nice tie-in with The Shining because Danny,
thought so too.
Yeah, Danny keeps seeing his creepy people in a bathroom. So that seems to be a fresh. I mean, we know bathrooms are a big deal in Derry. There are bathrooms.
Everybody hears dead people from the drains. Yeah.
But it did connect to The Shining and that book as well.
Did you almost expect, because Dick comes up out of the bathtub and he's all like shivering and stuff, and then we see a woman's hand? I was almost thinking that was going to be the woman from room 237. That was my first instinct thought, was that it was going to be a direct Shining tie-in and he was going to be in the room with that woman. So I was relieved to see it was Grandma. She's so nice.
Well, I don't know if I was relieved, but
for Grandma, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Grandma was both, she was better than Grandpa, but Grandma is a connection to Grandpa. So I feel like she's kind of creepy.
When we get to that section later on, I got some feedback for you then.
Yeah. It would have been neat if he came up in the bathtub and he saw Danny. That would have been cool. Like, because you mentioned the Overlook Hotel and that he might be able to see into the future.
Right.
It would be nice if he was given advice by Danny, who got to return the favor or something, but no.
Prophetic.
No, he's going to go re-enter his childhood trauma. Okay.
Why not? That's what it's all about, I guess. Sweet Shot of Time is brought to you by Zencastr. Zencastr is the way we record Sweet Shot of Time. We hook up with our guests via video and we record it on audio. Recently, we've been doing video podcasts with the cast of Time Bandits. It's easy using Zencastr. You can record video or audio. You can also edit your podcast or your video via Zencastr. Join Zencastr using my promo code Sweet Child of Time and you can get 30% off Zencastr. If you're ready to start your podcast, it's time to share your story. Share it with Zencastr. That promo code once again, Sweet Child of Time at Zencastr.com.
Okay. Well, I think from here, since those were our very small Easter eggs, the Easter egg hunt was tough this year.
Was.
So let's move on to character arcs.
Sounds good to me. You got them grouped up really nicely this week because it seems like they're like some nice compact groups more so than last week.
Right. So the first grouping is going to be Hank, Ingrid, and Stan Kirsch, the butcher.
Yes. Yeah, Ingrid Kirsch, is confirmed as a real person this week. We actually see her talking to other people besides just Lily. Her husband, Stan Kirsch, is not as friendly as we once believed. Turns out Ingrid was the woman that Hank was involved with. And because of an unexpected bus crash towards the end of our episode, Hank ends up being free, back with Ingrid and looking for a cool spot to hide in the future. A black spot, perhaps.
Okay. Very clever.
I wanted to start with Stan, though. Like, do you remember when we first met him and he was so cool and nice and he seemed so open-minded to Charlotte? But then he said that the kids call him Stan the Cleaver, which sounds kind of sinister, right? I think we met Stan the Cleaver this episode. We met his alter ego.
Well, we all know that sometimes you're nicer to people at work than you are your own family. But hopefully the difference isn't quite this.
A total Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation with this guy.
Yeah, Stan was interesting. He wanted his steak not overcooked.
Bloody.
But yeah, he did recognize Lily, though, as he said Terry Bainbridge's kid. So he's not totally far gone yet. He's not totally in the weeds yet, but you said she was confirmed to be a real person, but if you're saying the proof is she talked to Stan, are we sure Stan is a real person?
Well, she talked to Charlotte. She talked to Hank.
That's true.
She talked to the guard at the military base. She had to give ID there. So, yeah, she's actually like a living, breathing human person, unlike last week when we weren't quite sure. But we're still not sure of her motivation, though. Like, if you talk to my wife, Heather, she would say, yeah, this woman's great. She's given great advice to Lily. She gave her the turtle, bracelet. She told her to stay away from the sewers. She's given Lily milk instead of like the gross town water that contains evil particles. So like in Heather's mind, like she's 100% like a saint, like she's sent by Maturin the turtle or something, where I kind of think the exact opposite. I'm thinking like she's using reverse psychology on Lily by making her promise not to go into the sewers because, kids, want to do the opposite of what adults tell them. I think that she tells Lily like the right things. Absolutely. But she never really like out, except for the part where she says, stay away from the sewers. Other than that, she doesn't really ever give her like direct advice. She's just a kind person to Lily. this whole Bob Gray connection is really telling to me, and to Heather, it's not. But to me, I mean, can I recap the whole Bob Gray like story? Because I don't think we have ever done this, have we?
No, I don't think so.
Like Bob Gray was just a regular dude. He was a regular circus performer back in the late 1800s. And his circus persona, his clown, was Pennywise the Clown, is what he called himself. And he was just a regular dude, portrayed by Bill Skarsgård in the movie It. But even so, he was just a regular guy who was, who was a clown in the circus. When It viewed Pennywise and how much he enraptured the crowd and how much the kids liked / feared him because of like his demeanor, like It took over the persona of Pennywise the Clown, also taking over Bob Gray and making Bob Gray kind of like this gray figure, not quite human. And Bob Gray had a daughter. Ingrid is his daughter, Ingrid Gray. She eventually became Ingrid Kirsch. And I'm thinking because of her association with Bob Gray and with Pennywise that she is still a Pennywise type figure. And it's telling that the kids go down to the sewer the same time the military does. And it's almost like she could be partly involved in that push in a way. So I do think that she's evil. Heather thinks that she's good and that she will become evil and taken over by Pennywise at a later time, that we haven't seen that happen yet. Like right now, in Heather's mind, she's a normal woman that is about to be taken over by Pennywise in the future.
That's where I am too.
That's where you are too. Okay. I just think the way that they've portrayed her as really mysterious and given us this question, it's deliberate. It's deliberate that we didn't find out until this episode, like who she actually is. So I think it's more than a misdirect. And she's the perfect age as well. Like, this is just an aside. The actress who plays her, Madeline Stowe, that's right. She's 67 years old. Like, that's how old she is. So that's how old Miss Kirsch potentially is as well. If that's the case, then she was born in 1895, which would make her 12 or 13 years old in 1908, the same time that Frances Shaw and Rose are hanging around, and they're 12 and 13 at that time too. So I'm kind of thinking that, just as an aside, that when we get to that season, when we start watching the 1908 stuff, that we're going to be seeing like a little kid Ingrid running around too.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. You kind of said a lot there, Steve. I don't know if I have much more to add. I feel like it was a lot less unclear because she outright says, "Don't go. Promise me you're not going to go." And yeah, she could have been misdirection, but what's his face didn't do that. Maddie didn't do that. Pennywise is Maddie. Mm-hmm. Also, do we think Pennywise is, I'm trying to think of the word to this, but is able to possess more than one person at the same time?
Yes. I think we saw that this episode, as a matter of fact, because he has to clock a bunch of different people's fears. The two soldiers feared Uncle Sam, apparently, and like Lily fears her dad, and the kids fear Pennywise. So yeah, I do think that he can divide and conquer.
So counterpoint, okay. The soldiers happened, and then the thing with Lily seeing her dad was after. So I think once in the sewers, there's a difference between, like, people have talked about this way with God too, that God's all-powerful, all-knowing. Okay. He can be everywhere at once. Like, Satan is not that way. He doesn't have the same power level as God. And so I wonder with Pennywise, if he was spending time being Maddie, could he have also been this other person at the same time?
Sure.
Because he was in Maddie's body a long time, right?
Right. Yes.
But it could have been that the evil person in this case was originally Stan Kirsch. And then it looks kind of like in their household, there's borderline abuse going on, or possibility of abuse. And it could be that he's originally the bad guy, but then Ingrid gets possessed later or killed. And so then Pennywise is free to enter her body as a vessel like he can. So I just felt like it was more evidence that she was on the side of right. The only thing that makes me give pause to that then is that I was wondering if you were slightly suspicious of the fact that the bus that was carrying Hank Grogan just happened to be in a car wreck, and now he's on the loose.
Yeah, it didn't just happen, because Hank himself said that it was really weird and creepy the way that it happened. He said it was unusual. So Hank tells us himself that it was not just a normal car crash. Absolutely, it was involved in that.
What else did he say? He said it was just creepy and weird? I mean,
I don't remember his exact words, but, she said what happened, and he said, I don't know. I can't explain it. It was crazy. And I definitely got the vibe that it wasn't just a car crash, just based on his words, which I cannot remember his exact words right now.
Right. So it makes me think that, I guess then that sort of feels like, oh, well, who would be responsible for that crash happening?
I do think it's a divide and conquer thing. I think it has a lot of powers, but it is okay. I'm going to play devil's advocate with myself now. Because like you said, it does have boundaries it cannot cross. It has like these pillars that it's trapped within. So it does have limitations. It's not godlike. And saying that kind of frees Mrs. Kirsch from actually being evil, because she's not bound by the pillars. She goes to the military base and she's fine. So I think I just realized this as you were talking before. I could be wrong about that. Maybe it falls more to like she's going to turn evil later. I do think her husband, though, Stan, I think he's just your basic Derry guy that's been drinking too much water. And he's just, not a nice dude in his own house. And he has a fake face that he has when he's at the butcher shop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only other thing I have for this group is that the person that attacked Hank was Mr. Malkin, Phil and Susie's dad.
Yeah, I was going to make mention of that too. That was my only last point too. Because, the only reason we know that is because he says my kids, and he was the only parent that had multiple kids that were attacked. That's how I knew it was him.
Mm-hmm. It did seem a little, there was that scene where Mr. Bowers brings him onto the bus, and they're all just sitting there talking, and it's not a nice dialogue. And then he's getting loaded on the bus, and for whatever reason, Chief Bowers decides he needs to shove Hank.
Yeah, I saw that too. Like, it's not Hank's fault he got attacked just now. What the hell?
I mean, I guess you could read it that he was like, hurry up and get on the bus. But it looked like he was just like, okay, this guy is in chains. Let's just give him one more shove just because I enjoy it. And that hasn't been his MO up to this point, is just being malicious.
No, you're right. Yeah. I think it's telling. I think that is something that I'm glad you brought it up, because I know that we all know that the Black Spot gets attacked later on by a bunch of like dudes in robes, but we don't know who's under those robes. Wouldn't it be crazy if it was a town sheriff, Mr. Clint Bowers? And showing like his anger towards Hank, like right here. I think you're onto something.
Well, that actually ties into our next kind of block, because we're going to be talking about Rose, Taniel, and General Shaw next.
Okay.
And the first note I had for this group is about this augury that's mentioned.
Right. Yeah.
They have this name for it, that the entity sheds and that it goes into the water, and that as time goes on, they said that there was more aggression happening.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a name for the augury is one last bloody event before the cycle ends, which we know is going to be our Black Spot. But I didn't know that there was a name for that, the augury. So people are getting more aggressive, including Chief Bowers, apparently.
Yeah. And you weren't the only one. This is the first time that phrase has reared its head in the King universe. So this is like a first for everybody. So yeah, I definitely had my pencil and paper out when they were talking about that, because that's like new information for us. Yeah. And that woman was talking about, the 27 years of peace once the augury happens. And I think that's what that whole group is looking forward to.
So Rose obviously she finds out during this meeting, this town meeting, that they are holding Taniel. So she uses all of the muster that you would have as an aunt who's protective of her nephew and comes in and confronts General Shaw and, is telling him that you will not be able to control this thing. And I thought that was a nice scene between the two of them. And I thought it was also funny that she says, you won't be able to control it. And he says, we'll see. We'll see is his response. We'll just see about that.
Yeah, we will see, won't we? We'll report back later, General Shaw.
And she goes into her secret closet in her safe inside of her secret closet and pulls out a weapon that can hurt it. And,
the shard dagger. Yeah, that's right.
The shard dagger, the one we saw from the flashback. And so I guess a question I want to ask, and then maybe you can take it from there, is what was their plan here? I think that's a good question to ask. Yeah. What was the plan that she gave him this shard? And what was she hoping would happen?
I mean, we know that shard is protection. It's like when that one young lady in the original Losers Club went out to seek it, they took that dagger with them. Unfortunately for that individual, the dagger wasn't enough. But I guess Rose figures, hey, Taniel's getting ready to go to like one of the most dangerous places possible. So I'm going to give him this weapon here. We know that the mission that General Shaw's mission is to find these pillars, aka shards, and I guess relocate them and make a tighter cage for it, because like it right now has free reign over the whole town. They want to shrink that area up. So Taniel apparently knows the path to go to these shards through the house on Neibolt Street, but we never see any shards. We never see any paths. There's not 13 tunnels leading different places. So yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm like scratching my head and not quite sure what to make of this either.
Right. To add to this mystery, when she goes to see Taniel, they have a dialogue in two different languages. They start out speaking English, and then they go into the language of the Shokopiwa tribe, and they, he says something to the extent of, he tells her that, he was forced to tell them everything, but then he mentions, but don't worry, they think, and then she interrupts him and says, I know. So we don't get to hear what he was telling her. And they were communicating without speaking, so not quite Shining level, but they were both tracking with each other. And I guess the question is, what was he going to say? And I guess where my mind is with it is that he told them most of the stuff, or a partial truth, but didn't tell them the full truth.
Right.
He told them that if you go under Neibolt Street, you will find the path to the 13 shards.
Right.
But also you noticed in the memory, the aunt says, you are now part of and then she stops and her eyeball droops. So I feel like in that moment, and this is just speculation, but I feel that Taniel somehow, as much as he was forced to release, he stopped before they revealed the final piece of information.
Yes.
And he managed to shut that down, and probably at great cost to himself to do that. But this plan was doomed from the start. The sewers aren't a path to the shards. It's just a path to Pennywise and where he lives and dominates. And Taniel knew that he was walking into a trap and all of those, but he knew he wouldn't be able to dissuade them. So Rose gave him the only thing she could, which was a weapon to protect himself.
Yeah, I'm on board with all that too, except I think Taniel's telling a half truth. I think the house on Neibolt Street and the sewers do lead to the shards, but there's an additional step that he didn't tell them about, that there's more to the story that they're unaware of. They thought they would just follow 13 tunnels until they got to the grating that bars, and then the shards would be right there like magical objects they could just grab like in a video game. And it's not quite like that. I think Daniel didn't tell them everything, even though when he said those words, like they think, and then Rose shut him up real quick. Mm-hmm. That's not where my mind went. That's where it's going now. After our discussion here, that's exactly what I'm thinking now. They think they know the way, but they don't. But at the time I was thinking they think it sleeps during the daytime, or they think they can move the pillars, or they think they can control it. See, I was thinking he was going to finish it with one of those three statements, which are very, very obvious statements I think that he could make because they're statements that we all know. But yeah, I think there's more to the tale, and whether or not we got it right, we're on the right path. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it doesn't sleep during the day. Like that's like that's a misdirect that Maddie gave the kids. And we know it's not true because the whole grocery store thing happened during the daytime as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we also find out about General Shaw was kind of lying when he told Rose he didn't remember everything. He says 5 years ago he was given a drug as part of a military program, and he remembered everything about that summer. But then she tells him, I don't think you really do remember everything. Otherwise, you would never have come up with this plan.
Yeah, maybe both are true. I think it's really neat that he was tied in with the LSD trials that happened like in the late 50s. That's super cool that drugs come into play yet again, because the Native Americans used drugs to like see their visions. And he took LSD and remembered Derry, and the kids are taking Valium this episode. It makes me wonder why he didn't think about drugging his team with slight doses of LSD or something like that before they went into the sewers. Seriously.
It kind of makes you think the kids had the better plan.
Yeah.
Maybe not taking 3 of those. I don't know how, maybe if they had taken 1 or 1.5. The idea was supposed to be to stay calm, not be emotionally numb.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a nice scene between them. General Shaw is not my friend right now. He's really, he comes in the room and Dick Hallorann says, we got him. And he just looks so satisfied that he's used Dick Hallorann this way to break into Taniel's mind. And he isn't apologetic at all about Rose, but boy, he does. He definitely, when she comes in the door, he stands straight up and straightens his tie and he's on his best behavior, and he'll be let go when we're done with our operation, I promise. It was just, I'm not liking him right now.
Especially the way that he ends up. Like as we go through this episode, he was not there in the sewers. Right. Because when Taniel takes his opportunity to start running and he runs off and he drops the shard from his bag, which Lily finds later, that other dude that I think his name is Fuller. Yeah, I thought that was Shaw at first. Like just starts opening firing and shooting at Taniel like 10 times. That was one of my WTF moments right there. I was like, why are you shooting after this kid? He's supposed to be your guide, and that's not the way you make him stop. And I don't know, that really threw me through a loop, but it was not Shaw. So that was not Shaw. Shaw was not part of the mission. However, after the whole mission wrapped up, it was a shit mission. Okay, let's just say this. Mm-hmm. They lost Hallorann. They lost Taniel. They lost 2 unnamed random soldiers. Russo is dead. The ancient weapon is lost. And if you talk to Hanlon, there was a bunch of kids down there too. This mission was awful. And to wrap it all up, what does he say about this mission and about Rose and them? He says that they, being the Native Americans, they'll answer for what they led us into. So he blames them for this whole fiasco, which is completely out of line. He is off his rocker. And I have another wild suspicion about him. You ready for this one?
Okay.
You remember when he was sitting in his office this episode and he was watching the protests? And he had this look on his face. He was watching like a civil rights march, and they were talking about like, how there's bloodshed in the streets. And he was watching this scene like with like a look on his face, like he was loving it. And I was like, is he feeding off of the fear of this crowd on this television? Is he really like perhaps he's being led by it in a way? And maybe there's a glimpse of it inside him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's off the charts crazy just based on one small scene, but like that scene was there in the show to be noticed. So I thought it was a very suspicious scene.
Was that this episode or?
Yes.
Okay.
It was right before Rose walked in.
Yeah. I don't know if I saw that. I guess in my back of my mind, I have hope for this guy, I guess. I think if he just, I think if he just listens to his woman, he'll be fine. But yeah, I do kind of wonder if, I'm hoping Taniel made it out and what he means by that. And if he's going to go get revenge or if he's blaming them for how it went, then, he's not going to like the fact that they set up this misdirection.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Taniel definitely got out of there. We didn't see him get out of there.
I was worried when he lost his weapon.
Yeah. But I mean, we never saw him again, and then he knows his ways around the tunnel. So I'm like 99% sure he's fine. And besides, he's like credited in IMDb in being in all 8 episodes.
Oh my gosh, we're back to IMDb giving us our guidance. We're doomed. Okay. Anything else about this crew?
Let me scroll through my notes one last time. Suspicious Shaw, shit mission. They'll answer what they did for. I think we've covered it all.
Yeah. I was like, okay, well, was anything else said in this meeting? They mentioned their new keeper. They were training their new keeper. So I'm guessing that Rose is the current keeper.
Absolutely.
And they're training someone to follow in her footsteps. And it's
who? Not Taniel. He wasn't there.
It was the young lady that answered.
Okay.
I don't remember what her name was, but it does seem like the keeper is a female. Maybe that's always a storyteller.
I mean, all 4 that we know of have been female, so safe to assume.
Yeah. So yeah, they talk about the shedding, that there's big event of violence.
Oh yeah, and I give myself some credit because we were talking early on this podcast series about, because my work in water and wastewater, and I was saying like how some big evil meteorite that hits the ground will definitely have ramifications for future generations, and that ground could be tainted. And that sounds like that's exactly what this council is saying. So they were like, Steve Barnes, congratulations. And I say, thank you.
I don't like to think about people shedding their skin into the water. That's kind of gross anyway.
I mean, we're talking about blood and brains too. I mean, I'll take the shedding skin over the blood and the brains any day.
All right, let's move on to Dick Hallorann, Grandma and Grandpa.
Okay. Oh yeah, we're back to that moment now, where I wanted to talk earlier about them. So yeah, Dick has like this underwater vision of his grandma and grandpa back in their old bathroom, and Grandpa is trying to trick young Dick Hallorann into open up his box of fears. And later on in this episode, when we see a dead Paulie Russo walking around, we know that indeed that box has been opened for sure. So yeah, Dick Hallorann's box of fears has been forced open by it. And this is what I wanted to say earlier about, you were saying that his grandma looked kind of creepy too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily disagree with you, except for that she and Dick were sharing like a telepathic conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And all of her words were to help Dick and to guide Dick on the side of good. And then the grandfather, of course, is, sadistic and evil. And he even shoots the woman to like make Dick listen. He doesn't shoot Dick. He shoots the grandmother, knowing that Dick will respond to that.
Right.
I got very strong Maturin the Turtle and It vibes from the grandmother and the grandfather, because It has found Dick Hallorann and recognizes that Dick Hallorann has very special gifts similar to It. So it wants to infiltrate it. But then there's another figure there that's trying to kind of inadvertently and indirectly stop it from happening, not strong arming their way to stop it from happening, but just indirectly guiding the other person into another direction, which falls right into the God and Satan, allegory you made earlier.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I realize grandma was his force of good growing up.
Yes, that's right.
But I think what I was kind of saying is, in these visions, when he's having these visions now, is the grandma still a tool of good, or is it just another tool of Pennywise I'd like to think, and I've said this before, I'd like to think that Maturin is also sending, agents of good and help and encouragement along the way.
Yeah.
But it's just that when grandma's approaching Dick Hallorann in the woods and saying, mind me, son, keep the lid on tight, it's not exactly what you'd want to hear. Maybe you'd want to hear something like, I'm always with you, or I'll be next to you, I'm always with you, something like that, instead of being in a tunnel and going, Dick, it's like that was what grandma's approach was to, giving
You're
him.
not wrong. I think we've seen two images of the grandmother. When he saw the grandmother in that first image when he was in the plane, that was clearly an image that it took over and tried to get Dick to jump out of the plane. So that was a manifestation of it. Then when we saw the woods, I would think that was also a manifestation of it, except for the advice that she gave him, which is keep the lid on tight, like don't give up that box. So I think that was a manifestation of Maturin. And then when we see this last one here, it's, definitely Maturin and it, like side by side, almost like what do you call it? That one person that God and the devil made a bet that one person would deny God. What was the Canaan? It was a Canaan. I don't know. I'm talking about now.
I'm sorry. It's the really famous book about suffering.
Yes.
This is horrible.
But that's kind of like what I'm seeing is like Dick Hallorann is that biblical figure. And then like the mother represents God and the grandfather represents Satan. Job is
that's
who
right.
it was.
Job. Well, yeah, I would agree with that, but I guess that in this vision, though, if grandma's there supporting him, then you would think he would actually have the tools to fight it. But I don't think he did, because he wasn't wanting to open the box, but grandpa was able to make him anyway. It was almost like Dick had no say in the matter whatsoever. And I don't think it's from lack of strength. So yeah, I don't know. It was a painful image because he's remembering his past and being chained in his bathtub. So I don't know. I'm not sure I'm exactly agreeing with what you're saying, but it's a good thought that hopefully grandmother is going to be able to help him in some way. But
that's just what I got out of it. But I also see that now this is going to change Dick Hallorann now, because now he can see ghosts. Now he can communicate with ghosts. Will this be helpful in the future? It seems like it could potentially be a power. Because Pennywise and Dick basically have very similar powers and abilities. It's just at a different scale and a different ability level, but very similar.
Yeah, well, that gets at another question I want to ask, which is actually more about the grandpa than it.
Okay.
But when grandpa says this gift isn't meant to be put in a box.
Mm-hmm.
So how does, whether it is a memory of his real grandpa or if this is it entering into this moment, how does grandpa think he can use Dick's gift of seeing dead people?
I don't know. Maybe could he go on one side and it'll make Dick appear crazy and take him off the playing board, put him in Juniper Hill or put him in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe, it has a very, very high opinion of itself. So maybe it thinks that if he can, get Dick back to use this ability, maybe he can team up with Dick, and maybe Dick would be a perfect form that it could take to like do better killings in the future, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe he just wanted to torment him by opening the box he wanted to keep closed with the things that scared him. So it could be something as easy, as basic as that. But
it is fascinated by Dick Hallorann. Fascinated by it because he's never met anybody like Dick Hallorann before. So, there's a fascination there. There's a mutual respect there.
Mm-hmm. Man, he needs to meet Danny then.
Oh yeah, what about this box, this shiny gold box? Is this the same box from Pulp Fiction?
I don't think so, but it might be the same box from Seven. What's in the box?
It's got Gwyneth Paltrow's head in it. I want Marcellus's soul. That's what I want in the box.
There's so many boxes out there. So many boxes.
And yet another one.
Pandora's box too.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move into our kid team. This is a big team here. We got Ronnie, Will, Rich, Marge, Lily, and Maddie.
Yeah, dude. Maddie's back in the crew again. Reunion time. So yeah, we're calling this the 1962 Losers Club. They're gaining a new member with Marge, and they think they're reunited with an old member, Maddie. They're led down to the sewers where Maddie eventually reveals himself to be Pennywise the clown. And we know that every time we see Maddie here, he's actually Pennywise, it in disguise. So how long do you think he had to sit there and listen to Rich talk about paper airplanes? You think it enjoyed that?
He didn't really say anything back about that, did he? He was just kind of sitting there.
He was like, this is pure torture. I thought I could torture kids, but this is awful.
Maybe he'll get some tips from Rich. How to torture people in the future.
But this is, we've already discussed this scene right at the tip top, but this was, lovely that Maddie is here in their standpipe. It's almost like we have a 7-gang losers club. Almost. We got 6 kids. Well, 5 kids really, because Maddie doesn't count. But this big, huge gang of kids on bikes showing up to the sewer. It brings back vibes. You get chills looking at it. Yeah, this whole thing, like everybody was high-fiving about Phil being alive because the showrunners very slyly, made Phil look alive on the cereal boxes. They never showed Phil really being dead. So we definitely believe this. We as the audience and we, the kids in the show, believe this. And that's the big impetus. It's not just to rescue Hank anymore. Now we got a live kid we can rescue. So, that's the whole, and Lily once again comes with a plan, comes with the tools in hand. I think we need to let somebody else have the good idea next season or next episode, right? Let's let Lily sit a back seat.
Well, Steve, not only did she come with a plan, but she came with a Hallmark slogan.
What was that?
Are you an anchor or a lifeboat?
Oh, I kind of like this. I like this a lot.
I liked it, but I feel like she's taking a tip from her friend Ingrid, who's always giving her, Forrest Gump types of slogans. Like, it's about the friends you made along the way, So it kind of struck me as pretty cheesy, and they've been building up this concept of Lily being the leader and the one that has the plans. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if they're gonna be kind of at this point, let's have somebody else try leading for a change, because Lily's had these ideas and they haven't really panned out so well so far.
Hey, Will, can you give us an idea maybe this week? Please,
He will research it thoroughly.
Yes. And it won't involve drugs. I can tell you that. Even though I had a lot of fun with that drug scene, that was a lot of fun. Yes. But the anchors and lifeboats, though, I'm surprised to hear you say that, because I really liked that whole concept. I really dug into it. I mean, maybe I'm a more corny person than I give myself credit for. But I mean,
if you're going to give a St. Crispin day speech, you need to come up with something different than that.
I guess you're right. It's a new concept to me, and it's a concept that honestly I've been thinking a lot about. Not in these terms. This phrasing and these terms are new to me. The anchors and lifeboats thing. but I have been like kind of wrestling like with, remembering past loved ones, remembering bad images from them, and remembering good memories from them, and like the battle to have those different thoughts about people. And, thinking about friends that you've had through your lifetime, and you think about this phrase, anchors or lifeboats. And I can definitely think of some anchors in my life, and I can definitely think of some lifeboats in my life. So, corny old Steve over here really liked it.
Okay, counterpoint, Steve.
Yes.
I am going to be devil's advocate
Please.
there. I don't think these are the two phrases you want to put against each other, because anchors are not bad things. You need an anchor. These anchors are positive things. So you just need a different lifeboat or a rock tied to your ankle. It's you talk about being weighed down with a bag of rocks or something like that. Anchors are good things. We need anchors on our boats to keep us safe.
If we want to get anywhere, though, if we want to move around, the anchors aren't really that helpful.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I just thought it was a little heavy-handed of an analogy to be using here. And I know she needed to move the kids, but it wasn't a good move. It wasn't, and the one that we can see now that set up this whole thing was Maddie, because he's the one that says that Phil's still down there. So now we have to set up this rescue mission. So it was actually pretty manufactured by him, this idea in the first place.
It was. And the Valium thing, like you said, 3 Valium is way too much. Like her mom pops them like M&Ms. Sure, your mom is a full-grown adult who probably weighs like, 160 pounds, and you're like Lily, you're 12, you weigh 80 pounds. So like you don't want to do this, Lily, but they don't know. And it makes for a very fun scene. I really enjoy it a lot. I enjoy the fact that they got really high, but there's no payoff with it whatsoever. Like it never comes back around as helpful whatsoever.
Right. Well, the payoff is you get to see Rich and Marge holding hands in the sewers and having Lily turn around and say, "Are you two holding hands?" And Marge says no, and Rich goes, "Yes."
I mean, if that's the point, then it was totally worth it. It was worth it. It was worth it. Okay.
Rich continues to be the comic relief that I need. I love when he says, everybody says that. My school, the post office, my barber. And then when he hears Maddie making a noise before he reveals himself, Will picks up a baseball bat, Rich picks up a bowling pin and says, "This is a private club." It's just hilarious.
He's a great guy. I love this all. And them holding hands, love it. The way they're slurring their speech, 100%. I'm really on board with this whole thing. And it did give us like insight to Maddie. We noticed that he wasn't stoned. So, that was our big clue to us. The gang didn't have this glowing dagger. We didn't mention the dagger that Taniel had. He dropped it in the water, and Lily retrieves it unknowingly later on. But this thing glows just like that sword in Lord of the Rings. Whenever the orcs come near, his sword glows blue. So this shard kind of does the same thing. So I'm picking up Lord of the Rings vibes. Back at the sewers again, like when the military went into the sewers, you mentioned the well as one of your Easter eggs. And I thought it reminded me of Jodie Foster film, Silence of the Lambs. That's where my mind went there. And then when they got down there and started moving around, I was like, oh, it's Barbarian now. This is like this Neibolt house is Barbarian meets Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
But yeah, down there holding hands. And eventually we got to talk about how Maddie lures them down there and they find the dead bodies and they're horrified and they're yelling, and Maddie starts doing a pole dance. He starts spinning around on the pole, turns into our man Pennywise, Lindsay. Pennywise finally made his appearance this episode. Did you love it?
I liked the part where he was dancing around the pole and singing. But then to me, the way that it was filmed, when he goes, down with the clown. And then there's like 5 seconds of silence.
Right.
And I thought there would be a lot more reactions happening. So I felt like that was a little anticlimactic. And then Marge just sort of screaming out of thin air. So I don't know. It was I liked part of it. I liked the reveal of Maddie becoming Pennywise, but then it wasn't really scary. It was more, I don't know, entertaining. There he is, Maddie turning into Bill Skarsgård. Impressive special effects there.
Yeah, the Maddie turning into Pennywise, I'm going to say it didn't quite work for me. Like, I saw it happening and I accepted it, but it didn't knock me off my feet. And like you said, there was that pause there, that 3-second pause where it's like they left room for the audience to cheer or to clap or something, or go, oh, I think that's what the gist was, is they were giving people a chance to yell and do their reaction videos or whatnot. Mm-hmm. But when he said like his little duck and cover phrase, I really appreciated that a lot.
Yeah, that was funny.
It was not only funny, but it made me remember, like, in the opening segment of this whole, okay, he says duck and cover, kids, which is like, this slogan from the Turtle. And it's all tied in with nuclear war. And in the opening credits, the kids are watching the film with a nuclear blast happening in the background. And it's Pennywise that is operating the film. You see like his clown hand. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really neat. I think that's kind of tied. That made me think about that intro, how it's actually Pennywise at the helm there, warning the kids they got to start ducking and cover because here he comes with his nuclear assault. Now, once he started talking and leering about and saying stuff and chasing them, I was very much on board. I was very glad Pennywise was back in the show. But the initial reveal, just like you said, it underwhelmed me as well.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was more scary. There was a moment when the 2 soldiers that get separated from the group and they're down in the sewers and the guy turns into the I want you. I don't know what they call that guy, but
Uncle Sam.
Yeah, Uncle Sam. Okay, so before Uncle Sam comes out, he's just in the dark, and then his finger slowly comes out, and there's kind of that, to me, is so well done when they do stuff like that. It was the same feeling I got when Dick has his vision when he's on the plane, and Pennywise is like, "Who are you?" And he's just in the dark and you can't see him.
Yeah.
That's so much scarier than when it's like,
in
giant,
your face screaming.
Yeah. In your, or the jerky when it comes really close to you.
I'm with you.
So I know everybody is just excited that Pennywise is back, but yeah, I think I find his other forms scarier right now than I do Pennywise. To me, Pennywise is just entertaining, but yeah.
He's recognizable, he's iconic. People have been waiting for him, and now he's here.
Yeah. I did want to talk a little bit about Marge and Lily and their reunion. So we kind of catch up with them pretty early in this episode.
Yeah.
And, Marge is recovering in the room, and Lily's there. And it kind of bothered me that when Lily comes in, her lead kind of thing is that, what did you tell them about me? She seemed more interested in, what did you tell the authorities than, hey, are you okay? I'm glad you're okay. I mean, they've been on the fritz, but it kind of bothered me that I felt like her main motivation of coming in the room wasn't to check on her friend. It was more, what's going to happen next? What are you going to tell everybody? Which is understandable, but still, I felt like it was a little cold. But she does make up for that later by saying, if he comes back again, you won't be alone. Mm-hmm. And then Marge, I thought her speeches and her lines was very sincere this time. She really seems to be trying to make up for lost time. She's quick to apologize for not believing her friend, and yeah, she wants to help now. And the friend group seems a little slow to accept her, except for Rich, who is kind of, hi.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot he's into this. Yeah.
I guess the only question I kind of wondered is, when they show a picture of her eyelid has all these scratches and wounds on it. And I was kind of like, that doesn't make sense because it was her eyeballs that she cut. So, I mean, I guess they had to do something.
I guess like her cutting off those protruding eyeballs and the blood was just imaginary. And I guess the only thing that was real was like her stabbing herself in the eye when she actually did it herself. That's the gist that I got. But yeah, it didn't look like as bad as I thought it would look. And I didn't pick up that vibe. I mean, what you said about Lily there is obviously valid, but I didn't catch that vibe at all. And if I watched it twice, and both times I found it sincere.
Lily was right to be a little standoffish, maybe, because Marge, was almost going to play a mean prank on her. So maybe it was that kind of, can I trust you? Can I not? So
yeah,
I thought it was, I thought at the same time, I wish she would have said, are you okay first, at least, before she said anything else. Like, I shouldn't be here because everybody thinks I did it.
That's what you would have said first. You would have brought flowers and said, how you doing? Let's talk about you first, Marge.
Yeah, I would have said, how are you? Are you okay? I was worried about you. And then I might say, so what are you going to tell them as an afterthought? At least that's what I'd like to think about myself. Who knows? I haven't been in this situation yet.
I think you would have done the right thing. You're a kind person, Lindsay.
Thank you.
I thought it was really fun here. Like how, remember we said last time that, everybody's going to end up in the tunnels at the same time. What are you doing here? Oh, what are you doing here? And that's actually what happened. It's like, it seems almost coordinated. Like Pennywise lured these kids into the tunnel. And then possibly if Pennywise is working underhandedly with Shaw and maybe indirectly with Taniel and Dick, maybe this was all a coordinated attack, because that's what Shaw told them initially was shoot anything that doesn't belong down there. And obviously the kids are like that. And the first vision that they sent Leroy was one of Charlotte, which we're going to talk about that next here. But, so that right there, that establishes your loved ones could be down here, your loved ones being Will. So, as soon as Paulie starts saying, yeah, okay, shoot my gym teacher, got it, I was like, oh no, they're going to shoot Will. That was my very next thought. And of course that almost did happen next.
Yeah. I mean, I the same thing happened to me as soon as he said, we're going to shoot anything. And I was like, the kids are down there. No.
Not them, not them.
And then that's what happened. But yeah. And then you had to drag poor Polly into the whole thing. So yeah, let's go to our last set here, being Charlotte.
Well, not quite yet. We still got to wrap up with Lily here.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought we were done with these kids.
We ain't done with these damn kids yet. Lily Lily got herself lost in the sewer. She's all looking back and forth, doesn't know where she's at. Pennywise is running after her. And Pennywise backs her up into a corner, but luckily enough, like the luck of the turtle, you might say, that dagger ends up like right there between her and Pennywise. Pennywise sees the dagger and does a uh-oh and just kind of backs off. I would have thought he could have done a little more than that. Maybe he could have like done a lot of taunting before he ran off, or maybe said some cool catchphrases.
Or try to get her to drop it or give it.
Right. Or throw it away somewhere. Hey,
that's
throw it over there.
Probably poisoned.
Because she wasn't holding it. It was just in the water. And she wasn't even aware of it.
Yeah, when I first saw something glowing, I didn't even know what it was. I thought maybe she'd reached one of the boundaries, or maybe she had, it was her turtle bracelet. She did have a turtle bracelet. Like when he backed up in a corner, she did have, the turtle was facing Pennywise. So I think some people might have thought that that's why Pennywise, recoiled. But my first thought when I saw it glowing, I was like, I recognized it as the dagger on first glance, but I was like, how did it get here? This is not where Taniel dropped it. There's no way it would be here. So I can only think that the turtle created a strong sewer poopy like current that pushed it over that way. The poop current went this way.
Yep. I mean, I don't know how else it got there, but it was there to save the day.
Yeah. So now Lily has the dagger.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is she the keeper? Like all of a sudden, like I hope it goes back to the correct hands, because right now it's not in the right hands at all.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's not gonna go back to the right hands.
Oh.
That would be too neat of a story if they were like, who does this belong to? It belongs to these people. Let me give it back. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. And speaking of which, why did that dude, what'd you say his name was? Fuller? Fuller. He wouldn't let Daniel hold on to that dagger until
he let him carry it the next day.
But not until the next day.
Right.
Why?
So what would he do? What's he going to do with it that night?
Exactly. What was he going to do with it that night?
Well, they didn't know. I mean, they didn't know what it would do. So he's probably thinking, we need to keep this for safekeeping. And they didn't, because what did Rose say? They know that it won't do any harm. And yeah, I just saw it as that they're like, oh, this is a secret, this is a weapon. So we'll hang on to this until you really
just
need it.
Straight up, you don't give prisoners weapons. Okay, well,
right. I mean, you don't give them a noose or anything. They don't want to lose Taniel.
I was just thinking because it's magical. I was just maybe thinking that perhaps Shaw was going to study it overnight or something, or try to get some secrets from it. Perhaps, I don't know.
I don't even know if he saw it.
That's true. Yeah, they're two different guys.
She says she showed it to them, but who's them? Is it just the guards that were at the door, or
right?
Did she show it to Shaw? Because all he saw was the magic slingshot. He only knows about the magic slingshot.
The magic shard is way better than the magic slingshot, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'm good with moving on now to our last group.
Okay, I don't want to move until you told me it's ready. I already had one false start. Okay, so yes, we're going to move on to our last little group, which is Charlotte, Polly, Russo, and Leroy Hansen.
Hanlon.
Hansen? What? Who's that?
Whatever.
From the group, Hansen. Their singing group.
And Leroy finally comes clean. He tells everything to Charlotte, and he's mad at Shaw, by the way, because he's like, why would you bring me into this mess and my family? Shaw's like, well, I didn't think that y'all would move to Derry. I was hoping y'all would stay on the base where it's safe. Leroy's like, yeah, So that's what they do. He decides to move his family to the base, and Charlotte seems okay with that. And Will is not okay with that. He still wants to hang out with his friends. So the first chance he gets, he makes up a story about investigating the base, and he hightails it up to his friends, of course. But yeah, Charlotte and Leroy here are finally on the same page. Leroy, the man without fear. I knew that this is what would happen, that it would use his own family against him, because of course he doesn't have fear, but at the same time, he wants to protect his family. But then he shoots his wife. What happened there, Lindsay?
I mean, Polly tells him he doesn't see her.
Oh, that's right. So I guess he realizes that it's a vision, and then he shoots.
Yeah, he realizes after his old reliable, his ride or die, Polly Russo.
Ride or die, you say? Well, these two guys are teamed up together, and yeah, that's apparently what happened, because he has this vision of Charlotte, so he believes these visions are just visions. So then he sees the real Will, goes to shoot it. Polly also sees it's the real Will. And this was one of the logistic things I had issue with, because it didn't seem likely that Polly could have jumped all the way in front of that long-barreled rifle to catch that bullet. But he did, because his protective gene is so strong and so full of love that he was able to skirt in front of that gun and take a bullet for Will. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they killed Polly here, Lindsay. We're not going to see him anymore. And why didn't they make his last words, how's my hair? And then he passes away. Why not?
Does my hair look okay? Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
They did another sort of cheesy line. Make it count.
Yeah. What did you say? Keep it, make it count. Yeah.
And then he said, it's my turn. He said those were the two things I saw. So, yeah. I mean, it was very reminiscent of Saving Private Ryan. He says, earn this. I hate that line from that movie. We get that's a story for another day.
Or I'm thinking of Stay Gold, Pony Boy. That's like my dying phrase that I hate.
Don't touch that one.
Sorry, just did.
Hands off. You've been slapped. Okay.
He tells Leroy to stay gold, and Leroy does. But yeah, Paulie's ghost is still walking around out there, though. So that's something to hope for.
We might see him again, Steve, in his ghost form.
Maybe he'll be helpful somehow.
That does seem kind of, I know they needed that to happen to make the point that Hallorann can now see dead people, but that was kind of upsetting in a way because Paulie just he's done this sacrifice for his family, or his kind of family, his chosen family.
Chosen family, yeah.
And how does he get repaid? He doesn't get to rest in peace. He has to wander around looking confused in service of scaring Dick Hallorann.
I guess so, yeah. But it's for the greater good, like you said, you got to, what was his dying word? Say it again.
Make it count.
Yeah, he's got to make it count. He's got to make that apparition spiritual visage count somehow. Maybe he can scare Pennywise. I don't know. He could pull out a gun.
If you're listening, Paulie, I want to let you know your hair looked fabulous even in death.
Yeah, he's just kind of got, even when his hair's messed up, it still looks good. I guess it's the amount of cream he puts in it that holds its shape.
I'll tell you what I thought was going to happen here was actually before, when General Shaw has his one-on-one with Leroy and he says, hey, maybe you can move your family to the base. And Leroy says, there's no maybe about it. And then he's like, sir. And he walks off. And we see him getting in, leaving the base with his family. I thought they were just leaving, not leaving to move into the base. I thought he was like, I'm getting out of here, me and my family. And I guess that's not in keeping with his character. That doesn't make sense for this man of duty. But at first I was like, yeah, hip, hip, hooray, you're leaving.
Oh, man.
But not because I want to get rid of him, but I thought, I didn't think it was going to work. I thought they were going to be like, where are you going? Oh, I'm going on a one-night vacation with my family, and then he's going to escape, and then General Shaw would be like, you're not leaving until you do X, Y, and Z. That's not what happened, but he was just moving his family to another little apartment.
Short-lived luxury. I'm sorry, Lindsay, but yep.
I did think that Charlotte, I didn't think she was totally cool with it. Remember, she's also starting to make friends, and she also has her work, her activism, and if she's at the base, is she able to be free to continue to work on Hank Grogan's case, or is Leroy going to insist you stay on base at all times?
Yeah, and that's a good point. It sounds like she's still working on Hank Grogan's case because she was in that small kitchen making phone calls and checking up behind Hank Grogan to make sure he's all good. So I think she's still going to be good behind the scenes, but that's a great point. She wants to be more in town and she wants to be more involved. And on that military base, that's not the case. Except for, of course, we know that she's going to have a little adventure ahead of her now because, one of the last scenes is like Ingrid coming to the base to visit Charlotte to let her know that, they have Hank and that they need to hide out somewhere. So, Charlotte's right place, right time at this point.
Well, all she says is we have a mutual friend.
We know it's not Stan.
Well, no, I don't think it's Stan, but there was nothing said about we need a place to hide this dude, but yes.
Well, no, yeah, because they were having the conversation in the woods. What are we going to do? Oh, I know what we can do. And the next thing you know, they're talking to Charlotte.
Yeah. Yes, I think I'm on the same page, but that's a future thing we're speculating.
Right. And you know what, Lindsay? Everybody is speculating from here on out. I'm serious, because if we were one of these, some people get advanced copies. I know sometimes you get advanced copies of shows and movies, but in this case, we did not get any advanced copies of Derry. So we're watching this on Sunday night and recording it the next night with, we don't get very much time. all these other podcasts and YouTubers and et cetera, they got the first 5 episodes that they could watch.
Some of them did.
Oh, well, the ones that I've been listening to are now saying stuff like, we don't know what's going to happen because we don't have any more episodes to view and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Everybody who got screeners only got 5.
Yes. So all these YouTubers and podcasters like ourselves, we're all speculating from here on out for these last few episodes.
Mm-hmm. And we always have been.
Of course, because we're...
Except for when Steve looks at spoilers.
Well, even the spoilers that I look at are not really real spoilers. They're just like spoiler images that they drop because they're allowed to drop them. They're like prepared spoilers to spurn conversation. So it's not like I'm getting any advanced information that nobody else has. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just like you, guessing as we go.
Yeah. Well, there was that one week that you said, "Oh, I know for sure next week the kids are going to be much older and all that stuff." And it's like,
well, that's because that was a production note that was advertised.
Well, they don't look that much older to me.
Oh, you don't think so? Mm-hmm. I think Will is
only
the one
Will is, but it's not like his voice is all deep now. He's just a little taller.
Yeah.
A little taller,
He's taller and his face has like gotten slimmer as well. Like his face has gotten taller too.
Yeah.
Will, you got a tall face.
Well, I'm ready to rate the episode unless there's anything you want to discuss.
I want to discuss your rating of the episode, Lindsay.
Okay. Do you want me to go first?
I do. Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, I guess you probably won't be surprised. I'm going to give this 5 turtles again.
I'm very surprised, actually. 5. This is another 5 episode for you.
Yeah, you're surprised? I love this episode. I thought it just kept going. We had the reveal of Maddie, and even though it was a fake reveal, that was quite something to see him again. I never expected we'd see him again at all. I think he was even in an interview. I saw him in an interview, and he was, he was being asked the question, is it possible Maddie's still alive? And he was doing a really great job not giving anything away. And for him to do the amount of work he did in this episode, we didn't ever get to see much about him in the first episode.
That's right.
He was the first scene and that was it.
That's it.
And he really had to do a lot of different moods in this episode. So I thought it was great for him. And then we had this operation happen in the sewers, but of course it all went wrong. We had the kids high on Mommy's Little Helper.
Mm-hmm.
There just wasn't any drag at all for this episode. It was all very fast paced. I was on the seat of my pants. On the seat of my pants. That doesn't make any sense.
I was on the seat of my pants too. I was sitting down.
I was on the edge of my seat waiting to see what was going to happen, and it was very intense. So I thought it was a great episode. I kind of wish now that if I knew how you don't see what the episodes are going to be one after another. Mm-hmm. So I liked this episode even better than the episode last week.
Dang, so it's like a 5.1 kind of thing. Wow.
It's like honors classes and you actually got a 5.0 instead of a 4.0.
Yeah. Or you get like a little extra sticker on your diploma kind of thing.
An extra turtle sticker.
Well, yeah, I thought this episode was better than the last episode as well. So I also had to go up in my rating. I'm going up to 4 turtles this time around. This is the second episode I've given 4 out of 5 turtles to. Mm-hmm. I did think there were a couple of things, like the whole military plot had me scratching my head. Opening fire on Taniel. That had me like jumping up in my seat, like with my fingers, my eyes crossed and my arms in the air. Like, what are you doing?
Plus, is it very safe to shoot a firearm in a sewer system?
No, it's going to ricochet and hit you back in the eye. I mean, that's terrible. And then the Uncle Sam, I did not like the Uncle Sam visage. I thought that was more humorous than anything, but I'll take humor. And the whole shooting Taniel thing, I think it irritated me so much that I kind of ended up coming back around and thinking it was funny and liking it. So just all around, this was a fun ride. So I got to give it 4 out of 5. I haven't seen that 5 turtle episode yet, but we're getting darn close.
Mm-hmm. We've only got 3 episodes left.
I know.
Okay.
So we got MVPs too this week.
Yes. Well, you can go first this time.
Okay. Bunch of strong contenders in here. But I'm going to have to give, even though I did not like his original appearance and that I thought it was a bit of a lackluster, he's been on everybody's minds and he's been so anticipatory and he gave his lines so well. And Pennywise, I'm going to give it up to you this week and give you MVP of the week because we've been waiting for you. You did a great job. Thank you, Pennywise.
Pennywise?
Yes.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
He did a lot this episode. There was a lot of moving parts. He organized this whole thing about getting the kids in the sewer and the Maddie puppet. And
okay, this is interesting. Okay. I'll let you. Maybe I'll tell you who my MVP is, and then I'll tell you why. Then you'll know why it's so interesting. My MVP is Maddie.
Little Maddie. Oh, yes. Okay, little dead Maddie.
Maddie's acting as Pennywise because he is Pennywise.
Okay.
But it's the character of Miles Eckert, the actor of Miles Eckert.
Yes.
Being Maddie Clements as Pennywise.
Yeah.
So he had to convince the Losers Club about how he survived, and he does that whole monologue about what happened to the kids and
that's right.
giving all the details about how he was eating the brains in front of him. I mean, it was pretty gruesome stuff, and his little actor, he did good with that. And then the way that he hid his evilness inside of this little boy was great. And then he transforms into Pennywise. So there was a lot for Miles Eckert to do in this performance. And so I'm giving it to him. So when you said Pennywise, I feel like all Pennywise really did is he finished the pole dance and then he scared Lily in the tunnel.
Good line delivery. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. We just said it wasn't that scary when we saw him. But okay.
Well, I didn't give it to him for being scary. I just think he had his clown act together this time around. That's all.
Okay. Maybe I'm just tired of people complaining about Bill Skarsgård. Where's Pennywise? Where's Pennywise? But I'm not going to judge you for who you chose as your MVP character, Steve.
You already are judging me really hard. I can feel it. And nobody's going to say that anymore because he's here now. Yeah. So now they can all shut their mouths and enjoy Pennywise next few episodes.
Thank God. I'm glad you did say Maddie because I was like, oh gosh, if he says Maddie, then I have to go to my number 2. And I just thought he did a great job. So.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was either Pennywise or Dick Hallorann. One of the two of them was going to get my MVP this week. I didn't consider Maddie, even though you make a very compelling case. Last week, I didn't give Marge the MVP. I gave the actress who portrayed Marge the MVP, just like it seems like you're doing the same thing for the actor who portrayed Maddie, who, like, you're absolutely right, knocked it out of the park this week.
Mm-hmm. See, I thought you might do Polly Russo.
Oh, as like a goodbye tribute.
Yeah, because you may or may not see him anymore, and he was one of your faves.
Well, he got it 1 week, so that's all. Right. One is all you get, Polly.
You got to pass the love around. Okay, so what do we predict's going to happen next?
Oh boy. Well, I think a solid prediction that we both kind of stumbled upon together is that the Neibolt house and the sewers are a misdirect to the pillars. I think maybe we'll find out the pillars are actually somewhere else.
Right. Or they could still be on the outskirts of town, but like the best way to find the pillars is just to drive to them.
Yes. That's how it looked to me anyway. They're like around the edge of the forest. Just pull up on your bike.
Yeah. It kind of, like my first question would be, is there an easier way to get to these than to go through the sewers? Because that looks just darn uncomfortable and wet.
The kids buried them like in the ground. You saw them bury them in like 3 feet deep holes, like on the ground, not in the sewers.
Right.
See, I'm curious how that goes about. I've already made my prediction for how the Hank Grogan thing is going to go down. I do believe that's exactly how that's going to play out. because he's going to be hiding out the black spot. Word will get out and they will go get him. As for the kids' prediction, do you have a prediction for any of the kids? Because I did all my predictions just now. How about you?
Yeah, I didn't really have any with the kids. I already kind of said my doomsday predictions last week about the kids. But I guess the only other I kind of had the same things you just said. The only other thing I have is speculation about the title, because the title next week is In the Name of the Father. And so I was thinking, okay, who has a father relationship that could be referring to? And so I was like, well, Leroy and Will, obviously, Lily and her dad, General Shaw and his dad, and then Bob Gray and Mrs. Kirsch.
That's what I was thinking, yes.
Those were the child-father relationships that I know of in this show. Well, Ronnie and Hank is also a father-child.
I kind of think In the Name of the Father, I'm kind of thinking that, my first instinct was Bob Gray and Ingrid. And I'm thinking that maybe you and Heather are right, that Ingrid right now, episode 5, she's altruistic. She's just a normal, nice dairy woman who drinks milk instead of the water. But maybe next episode, In the Name of the Father, in the name of my father, Bob Gray, I now have a new purpose in life. And that is to be Periwinkle the clown, perhaps. And she'll go on a spree. I mean, it's a likely scenario. I also predict that Rich doesn't make it to the end of the season, and that Marge will be Richie Tozier's father, and that this Rich will be the namesake of Richie. Like, she will name her firstborn son after her first love, this guy who held her hand in the sewer. That's kind of what I'm thinking, that he's not going to be her dad, but not going to be Richie's dad, but Richie's inspiration for his name.
Okay, you're still going with that. Marge is Tozier mom.
Absolutely, dude. It seems like a no-brainer to me, honestly. Just like we know that like Will Hanlon is Mike's dad, I think it's been telegraphed very loudly that this is going to be Richie's mom.
I don't know. I'm gonna let you keep that one, Steve.
Okay, in my pocket.
Yeah, if Hank Grogan's gonna hide out at the black spot, he's going to have to be introduced to Dick Hallorann.
Yes.
So that hasn't happened yet. We see that Ingrid and Charlotte are gonna chit chat.
Yes.
So I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how that would happen, but it doesn't matter. We're gonna see it eventually, but so far Hank Grogan and
I'll fill in the blanks for you. They're gonna say, Hank, here's my husband Leroy. Hello, how you do? And this is some other guy, Dick, that he works with. Hello, how you do? I need a place to stay. There's this place that we're doing, Black Spot. You can stay there. And then Hank is known as like the dude that's crashing out at the Black Spot. It's kind of like on the back of everybody's tongue, like, oh, there's some dude that's like hiding out at the Black Spot.
Yeah.
And I think the word gets around that way.
There's a problem with that theory.
Okay.
The problem is that we think Leroy's going to be okay with them hiding a fugitive at the Black Spot.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe instead Charlotte will go straight to Dick and bypass Leroy. Because right now Leroy has nothing to do with the Black Spot whatsoever. Like, he's never even been inside of it. He seemed to have little interest in it when he was there.
Yeah.
So I think you just did it for me, Lindsay. Charlotte goes straight to Dick instead, because he's kind of like an impartial third party. Or
they might just find out about that this place exists. Maybe nobody's okaying it, but they're like, hey, there's going to be this club, and he shows. I don't know. I don't know how many of these people actually know Hank. He works at the movie theater, but do the military go to the movie theater? Who knows? No,
but it seems like everybody knows Lily's business. So it seems like word gets around town pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, we'll see soon enough. So do you have any plugs for this week, Steve? Anything you want to?
Well, I always want to plug our main network, MLM Pod, which is found at patreon.com/MLM Pod. My website is sweetchildoftime.com. And you can find me on all the regular social places. Instagram, Facebook, Reddit. I'm at all those places, but Instagram seems to be where I spend a good amount of time at. So look me up on there, Sweet Shot of Time Pod. How about you, Lindsay?
Well, I wanted to mention that my review of The Carpenter's Son is now up. So I did the interview with the director. Now I've reviewed the film. Mm-hmm. And a big change is now one of my stories is now on YouTube. I mean, I've always been on YouTube. I've had my interviews and my video reviews, but now my podcast, because of my change to moving my podcasting host to Riverside, each of my episodes of the podcast will now also air on YouTube automatically, like
nice.
You had for a while. So that's nice. We'll see. I'm not sure how many people listen to a podcast on YouTube, but okay. Some people seem to think that, that you should go ahead and drop those episodes.
I think it all depends. Like when I was releasing my Wheel of Time episodes with James, I was getting way more listens on YouTube than I was anywhere else. Mm-hmm. But that was the only case of that, was like the Wheel of Time podcast. And now with Welcome to Derry, I get maybe a dozen to 20 listens on YouTube. But I mean, those are like extra listens that you wouldn't normally get under your podcast. So, It's definitely worth it to do it. And some people do, like a lot of people just have YouTube Music and they use that app as like their music and their podcast app. And so those people will definitely find value with that.
Interesting. Okay. The last two reviews for the year, I have to write a review of Wicked for Good and Running Man. Those are two movies I saw screeners for. I will tell you, neither one of them are that good. So if you really love Wicked Part 1, you should see it. But those reviews will be coming out soon, is what I should say, not tell you what I think of the movie. Don't do a review right now, Lindsay. Just say they'll be coming soon.
I'm fascinated by the press of Wicked the Good. However, it's befuddling, the press releases that I'm seeing of those two actresses.
Yeah. Oh, well, the Publicity tour, yes, is going crazy. That's separate from the movie, but in a way it's connected.
It's enough to keep me befuddled. I'll tell you that.
Okay. Well, I think we've said everything we have to say for this week's episode. So, thank you for joining us in this episode of Welcome to Derry. May all the clowns you meet be kind. May all the friends you've met be kept safe in your hearts. And we hope to see you all next week for episode 6. In the name of the Father, goodbye.
Bye-bye.